Welcome to episode 65 of Oscar Sunday. I'm Austin Johnson.
I'm Connor Eyzaguirre.
And today we got a Best Picture Showdown talking about 1946, the 19th Academy Awards. We will be ranking the winner, The Best Years of Our Lives, It's a Wonderful Life, The Yearling, Razor's Edge, and Henry V. Almost forgot about it because it's so goddamn terrible. This is, to me, the worst group of 5 movies that we've ever talked about on this show. We've done a few stinkers, but usually you get three decent movies or good movies, and then 2 kind of, or maybe 2 really good ones, and then this year is 3 really shitty ones, like bad, don't have any business really being brought up in this kind of a context where you're talking about Best Picture nominees, and I think the other 2 are fine, and have some really good stuff and are definitely worth watching. That's unfortunate because we've seen years close to 1946 that are kind of stacked, that are kind of loaded. 1948 is a year that comes up a lot on this show a lot, with Hamlet winning, but the other 4 movies are awesome. Snake Pit, Johnny Belinda, Treasure of the Sierra Madre, and what am I forgetting?
Red Shoes.
Red Shoes. Fucking incredible. Yeah. So it can happen, where all 5 movies, have something to say, have something to offer, and some of them really kick ass. It's very possible. We unfortunately have a year here where that's just not the case. The Best Years of Our Lives, of course, we'll give awards out to that movie, and we're going to talk about a lot of the people that worked on the movie that are Oscar nominated. But I wanted to open up with you, Connor, just about how sometimes this feels like homework when you're doing these Best Picture showdowns, and it's because of movies like that are in this group.
We're definitely taking a chance every time we go in blind with these films. I mean, sure, sometimes we do a Fight Club or an In Bruges where we're like, we're going to have fun because these movies are great. But when we do stuff, especially pre-60s that we're not very well versed in, there is a significant chunk of Hollywood filmmaking that is so repressed and so impossible to watch now because the potential that is being wasted here. I mean, do we really need a 2-hour movie about how Gregory Peck and Jane Wyman are the worst frontier parents of all time and their kid has a baby deer that follows him around? Are you kidding me? What the fuck? Laurence Olivier doing like overacting Shakespeare for almost 2.5 hours? This is what we've got. This is 2 years before Treasure of the Sierra Madre comes out. This is what we're dealing with. Yeah. And this was right after World War II. So I get that everyone was like looking for some familiarity, some stuff that was just, positive. And I get that. But you can be positive and still be a good movie. We've seen that. So I don't really know what happened here. This is weak. This is embarrassing. And yeah, you're right. It did very much feel like homework. I put off Henry V to the last possible minute because I knew I wasn't going to like that.
Yeah. That one's on HBO Max. Unfortunately, that one's going to get some heat here tonight on this episode. If you like Henry V, you like Laurence Olivier, buckle up because we definitely are pretty sour when it comes to those topics, these Shakespeare movies from the 40s, especially the ones that Olivier is involved with. Just not really impressive. I don't understand it. It must have been really cool at the time because now I just don't think it has aged well. I don't think it's entertaining, and I'm just kind of put off by that. By that era and their fascination with the Shakespeare films. Like, what the fuck?
Well, I haven't read a lot of Shakespeare. I've read a bit. I've talked about in the past, I think on Hamlet, that I'm a fan of Macbeth. I like that story. I liked Justin Kurzel's 2015 Macbeth. I was sucked into that. I enjoyed it. Even Polanski's version's like not bad. But Olivier, like, I don't know what it is, but it's like he's making fun of it. It's the way everyone acts, you know, just like throwing the English brogue as far as they can. You know, I feel like I'm watching a school play. It's so goofy.
Yeah. A bit over the top. Yeah. Yeah. Neither can I, man. And you mentioned how, you know, you're watching Gregory Peck and Jane Wyman just kind of fuck around. You know, it's just, I don't know. It's not, there's nothing really to it. We will have some positive things to say about the Best Picture winner, Best Years of Our Lives. And of course, It's a Wonderful Life is still holds up, still really good. But there's clearly three films here that are just kind of like the definition of forgettable, you know, just, I won't revisit them. And with this, like you said, we do In Bruges, we do Pulp Fiction, Fight Club, whatever. It's a lot of fun no matter what, because we know what we're talking about. We've seen it before. But when we do these Best Picture showdowns, usually, like you said, pre-1960, most of the films we haven't seen yet. I had only seen It's a Wonderful Life out of these five, you know. These other four were first timers. For you as well?
Same. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So it's our first time watching these movies, and it very much becomes homework when you are trying to be positive, look at it. Okay, let's see here, you know, because some of these movies can fucking kick ass, and you just got to be in the right mindset and be ready for it. But these immediately fall flat. So it's just a year where there was some good movies outside of the Academy and outside of the Best Picture category. Some movies that are, you know, that still live on, still have a life of their own in our today's culture, like The Killers. That movie definitely has a legit following. It just doesn't show up in that Best Picture category. And that's unfortunate when the Academy just completely misses. We know they're not going to fucking get it completely right, because you can't totally get it right for everybody. But it is nice when you get a 1948 and the movies are all good. They're all solid. They're all worth watching. Hamlet, not so much, but those other four really have something to say. We did 1979. All five of those movies are worth watching, are worth owning to me. They're all worth having on your shelf. I think we covered, let's see, what other years have we? 2016, we did a big old Moonlight one. There's a bunch of nominees. There's some great movies in there, you know? I think it can happen, you know, it can happen where it represents legit movies from the past year. We just caught one that's off.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's because, you know, there's, especially our generation has such a stigma against old movies. And this is why. These are the movies that they think of when they think old movies are boring and I will never watch them. This is the reason, because they're not checking out, you know, the Maltese Falcon, Citizen Kane. They're watching, you know, this shit that has no relevance to today and has nothing to latch onto at all. And yeah, if this was all I was getting, I'd hate old movies too. And that's a damn shame.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it really is. Like, whatever you're fed, like, that's what you believe to be a part of that decade. And if you're not fed the right things, then yeah, you can be completely fucked. And I would not suggest this particular category, the Best Picture category, is a good place to start if you're trying to look for 1946 movies. Just no, it's not happening. Before we really get into it, I want to shout out one of my favorite actresses from this era, Olivia De Havilland. She wins Best Actress at this ceremony, the 19th Academy Awards, for To Each His Own. She is so goddamn good. She's, of course, someone we talked about a lot on our episode on The Heiress from 1949. Great movie. See, there you go. That's a movie that just does just fine. It lives on. It's amazing. Still really entertaining. Great performances. She is fantastic. She's not going to really get brought up later on in this show because The Best Years of Our Lives does not show up in the Best Actress category. I want to always be able to shout her out. She's one of the best, and people should seek out her work. She's someone to really watch. I've never really seen anybody match exactly what she brought to the screen. And that's fucking rare, to not be able to have copycats. But Best Years of Our Lives, 1946. We've done now, this is our fifth episode in a row covering a 40s movie. We did Monsieur Verdoux, we did The Heiress, we did Spellbound, and we did Yankee Doodle Dandy. And so here we are, capping it off. We've got to talk about William Wyler. We got to talk about him first. We did this with The Heiress, and we got to do it again with The Best Years of Our Lives. He, of course, is the director of this movie, wins the Oscar for Best Director, is just an absolute titan when it comes to this category and this job as a director in movies. Bear with us here. You've probably heard this before if you have listened to Oscar Sunday, because William Wyler is a guy that will come up. He was nominated in 1936 for Best Director, Dodsworth. 1939, Wuthering Heights. 1940, The Letter. 1941, The Little Foxes. Got his first win in 1942 for Mrs. Miniver. Second win, Best Years of Our Lives, 1946. Nominated again, The Heiress, 1949. Detective Story, 1951. Roman Holiday, 1953. Friendly Persuasion, 1956. Got another win in 1959 for Ben-Hur, Best Director. And then his last nomination is 1965's The Collector. So pretty wild resume. When you have The Collector and Ben-Hur in the same, like obviously this guy isn't making the same movie over and over, isn't directing the same kind of film. And we've learned that. We've talked about Roman Holiday when we did From Here to Eternity, Best Picture Showdown. We talked about 1953. We've talked about The Heiress. We've talked about now Best Years of Our Lives. This guy has come up a few times. He's someone where we definitely know about, and I'm interested in seeing everything. The Collector's at the top of my list for movies I haven't seen by him. Creepy ass movie that has like a lot of backstory behind it, so I'm kind of just itching to get to it. Yeah,
for sure. Ben-Hur has always been a film that I know I need to see. It's considered one of the greatest American classics. Dominated the Oscars, and is just I'm a little reluctant to take on another Charlton Heston religious epic where he plays a freed slave who leads rebellion. So I'm going to give it a bit before I tackle Ben-Hur.
That's fair. It'll obviously be a big episode one day where we can really hone in on it. So no, I understand that viewpoint. It makes a lot of sense. Some of these old movies are long as fuck, including The Best Years of Our Lives. 2 hours and 50 minutes, just so long. Holy hell. Robert E. Sherwood, the screenplay writer for the movie we're talking about today, Best Years of Our Lives, won the award for this movie. Was also nominated in 1940 for Rebecca.
Oh, wow.
Another movie that has been brought up a few times, talking about Hitchcock, talking about that. We've talked about 1940 specifically. So definitely a movie we both enjoy a lot. So that's it for Robert E. Sherwood, but got to bring him up because those are two pretty massive films.
He also wrote The Bishop's Wife, one of my more recent favorite Christmas watches.
There you
Very enjoyable, sweet film with Cary Grant and David Niven. Thought that was neat. Yeah, guy's got range for sure.
Nice. I like it. I like that. Good, definitely a good shout. When you're talking about these filmmakers and writers and actors, whatever, when you're looking at the Oscar resume, that's always missing awesome stuff. Always. We know firsthand by doing when you talk about a guy like Jack Nicholson, it's like, well, his best stuff is probably not there. So yeah, it's always fun to kind of look at what else they've done, what else they've contributed to cinematic history. Myrna Loy, talk about someone who contributed a lot, was in a lot of fucking movies and never was nominated, but won an honorary award in 1991. And we've seen this happen before where they don't really get their flowers. And then all of a sudden, oh, fuck, these people are actually kind of a part of a lot of different things. Let's go ahead and recognize them properly. She's in The Thin Man, Best Years of Our Lives, of course. I'm just reading off some of the big ones that are on IMDb. Mr. Blandings builds his dream house. I want to see that. What the hell is that? What a crazy title. Yeah, there's a lot of let's see, 142 acting jobs there. So yeah, pretty impressive.
Mr. Blandings builds his dream house is one of my grandpa's favorite movies, and we do have it if you ever want to check that out.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, it sounds like something that's got to be interesting.
And The Thin Man is an entertaining film. I watched that a while back. Seeing Myrna Loy and William Powell had such fantastic chemistry. The Thin Man ended up being like, I think, the first franchise that came out of Hollywood. There's like 6 of those. And it's just William Powell's a very intelligent detective, and Myrna Loy is his wife, who's, a little bit smarter than he is. Yeah. And he decides to solve this murder investigation that he just like this kind of stumbles onto. He's like, oh, I'm bored. I'll solve it. And it's really funny. I didn't know it was a comedy when I went in, and I was very entertained. The Thin Man's a good watch.
Fuck yeah. That's fantastic. I love those little tidbits because I know your family is just kind of, if you put your family together, it's like an encyclopedia of just American filmmaking, and it's really fun to kind of see what little things you remember because of, oh, I've seen this just kind of around because of my family. It's really cool.
We try.
We try. Did they show you any Frederick March movies growing up?
No, but I have discovered this guy on my own, and what a powerhouse.
Yeah. Good Lord. Yeah. This is a guy that he is the most decorated male that we did not talk about last week. Last week, I had tons of fun talking about the best actor category, best lead actor, and doing a kind of ranked 16 guys, put them at 1 seed through 16 seed. Frederick March is the only one where neither of us had seen the 2 films that he's won for. So it was like, oh, we can't put him in this because we have no opinion, no opinion on who should win. Now, had that happened though, had we seen those movies, that'd be Best Years of Our Lives and Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Had we seen those movies, Burt Lancaster wouldn't have been in the tournament because he was the 16 seed. And if you listen and you were with us last week, Burt Lancaster won that motherfucker. So I love that. I love that happened because the guy who won would have been kicked out if Mr. March would have been in it. Frederick March is nominated for Best Actor in a Lead Role, 1930, The Royal Family of Broadway. He won 1931 for Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Actually tied with Wallace Beery for The Champ. So that's interesting. We've only had like 2 ties in history. Pretty wild. I think the other one was 1968. I'm forgetting what the 2 movies are.
I think it was Best Actress, and it was Katharine Hepburn in The Lion in Winter and Barbara Streisand in Funny Girl, I think.
Funny Face or Funny Girl? No, Funny Girl. You're right.
Funny Face is
different. Yes, yeah, it's a different film. Yeah, that's definitely right. Lion in Winter is definitely in there. That's a episode that'd be a lot of fun if we kind of did those 2 movies together. Give it awards to both movies. So yes, he gets a tie with Wallace Beery, 1931. 1937 is nominated again for In A Star Is Born, a movie that's been done a few times. Got the win, 1946, Best Years of Our Lives. And then his last nomination is 1951, Death of a Salesman. Interesting group. Yeah, like you said, he's a total powerhouse, a guy worth kind of watching. He is fucking phenomenal in this film, in Best Years of Our Lives. He is fantastic in this movie. Subtle, but at times just barbaric. And I was blown away. I could have watched a 2-hour movie just about that character, just about Al Stevenson. Really, really cool performance.
Well, I first saw Frederick March in the 1960 film Inherit the Wind. And now that I've seen him in the Best Years of Our Lives, I have, I think, a much larger appreciation of this man's range. My God. Inherit the Wind, he plays a God-fearing lawyer named Matthew Harrison Brady, who is brought in to defend the church in court when a teacher is arrested and put on trial for teaching evolution in public schools, based on a true story. And of course, the lawyer he goes up against is Spencer Tracy, who is an atheist pragmatist who's defending the teacher. And he, seeing them two go head to head is unbelievable. But
yeah,
he, Frederick March specifically plays such a deluded, like God has chosen me to defend him in court lawyer, and seeing him unravel over the course of the film is mind blowing. That movie was so good. Inherit the Wind. Oh, goddamn. I think it was Stanley Kramer too. Let me check that.
That sounds right.
Yeah, it was.
Give that
Stanley
another
Kramer.
look. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, great shout. Anytime you can, I know that's one of your personal favorites that you would love to be able to talk about on this show one day.
Yeah, and I definitely want to explore more of March, because I want to see like what else can he do. He seems to be like one of the most chameleon-like actors of the 20th century, and I know that I'm going to be impressed, especially Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. I've heard he's amazing in that.
Yeah, he kind of has the look of a, just character actor who's like, like you said, kind of doing whatever he wants, but he's so good. It's like, dude, you have to carry. You have to be the main attraction. He's that good. I love when guys have that extra. I think one of our heroes, Philip Seymour Hoffman, over time gained that. It's like, oh, dude, you're so good at this. You should just be the main guy, and it worked out for him both ways. I love guys like that. Looks like Mr. March has that. Teresa Wright. We've brought her up on this show before. We talked about The Pride of the Yankees. She was nominated for Best Actress in a Lead Role. That's 1942. Also nominated for Supporting Actress, 1941, and then got her win in 1942 for Mrs. Miniver, Best Actress in a Supporting Role. So that year she was nominated in both categories, Best Actress and Supporting, and she got the Supporting win. Pretty cool.
That's cool. That reminds me of 2005 when George Clooney was up for Supporting Actor and Director, and he won for Syriana, and he goes up there and he goes, well, I guess I'm not winning Director.
Yeah. No, you aren't. Jesus Christ. So good. I love some of those little speeches where they're just like, oh, you're going to give this one to me. Well, then I'm not getting the other. Yeah. Fantastic. Special stuff. Last performer. I got two more. Here's a special one. Mr. Harold Russell. An actual hero, if you really, if you want to use those kind of terms. Harold Russell, not a properly trained actor, a guy who actually, in the movie, he has lost his arms, are not there, his hands and part of his arms. It's very much real. And this guy knocks it out of the park and completely dominates his performance. So much so, Harold Russell as of course Homer Parrish. He's just great character. He knocked it out of the park so much so that they had given him an honorary award before the ceremony, and they were like, "There's no way he wins. There's no way he actually wins this thing." And then comes ceremony time for the 19th Academy Awards, he wins the fucking award. He wins Best Supporting Actor. It's the only time he's been nominated because this is it. This is him playing something very close to the heart, quite literally. And it's rare that you have that. I remember the Tom Hanks film where you had a guy who hadn't ever acted before, the Somalian guy.
Yeah,
the guy who's like,
I'm
out of nowhere, now he has a whole career. It's very rare that actually works out this well, where the guy is just like winning awards and nominated for stuff and getting this kind of praise. He's one of the best parts of the movie. He is hanging. He's hanging with Frederick. He's hanging with Frederick March. Like, it's really crazy. I was blown away. I thought the kind of cynical side of me was like, oh, this is probably like handed to him. You know, they wanted to, you know, kind of mark this special moment, which is fine. That's fine. But he, you know, shame on me. He fucking knocks this role as Homer Parrish out of the park right at the very beginning of the film. When you see them going home, he's like smoking cigarettes with his fucking hooks. Like this is a fucking intriguing, very intriguing dude. So I got to bring him up. This is all he has really on his resume. There's nothing else to totally talk about. But this is worth it. Like I will remember Harold Russell just for this, even if it would, you know, it doesn't matter. Anybody who does something this special, this cool, and plays it well, you know, is not just there for fucking, you know, gimmicks. It's like he's like really putting in work as this character. So I was blown away. Hats off to Harold.
Well, I like that William Wyler like got super pissed when the studio tried to send him to acting class. And he was like, no, this is a veteran. He doesn't have to act it. He lived through this shit. Let him be himself. Let him find that pain and, you know, diagram it. And he does. It is amazing that this guy who was not trained can hold his own with Frederick March and Dana Andrews.
Yeah, God.
It was,
dude.
It was, and I believed it. I believed this guy who didn't want to be, he refused to look weak. He refused to let anybody pity him. He was, you know, he was still just, you know, Homer. And what he could do with the hooks was pretty impressive. Just like, you know, everything but buttoning his shirt. That's the only thing he couldn't do.
God, dude. Yeah, some of those scenes with Wilma when he's trying to like kind of show her. Yeah, good Lord, man. I was pretty blown away. I'm
impressed that they even like cast an actual veteran, an actual amputee in this role in 1946. That's kind of amazing.
It's incredible.
You didn't see that kind of representation back then, but you know, this was immediately after World War II. It was incredibly fresh. People were, you know, rampant PTSD and disability and just a war that touched the entire world. And it was important to show the people who were there, the people who fought for us. And I give, you know, however, I don't know anything about William Wyler personally, but that right there makes me respect him a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, me too. That you know, the war genre gets represented a shit ton at the Oscars, but this kind of a war movie where it's subtle and it's kind of, you know, kind of a slow burn, and it's more of a, you know, it's kind of a character study on these people who come home and just everyday life with them, and the fact that they chose 3 people to kind of hone in on. It's really like beautiful. It's kind of a triptych style, you know, way of expressing what happens to these people. I found it to be pretty like intoxicating at times. I was like, wow, this is like nothing I've ever seen in this genre. This genre, usually when it touches on this stuff, is when it's like, it doesn't feel authentic. It doesn't feel right most of the time. But this is one of the more unique war movies in the sense that its pace is like nothing I've ever seen, and it worked. So again, hats off to Harold Russell, man. The fact that he just went through that is like, I'm going to process those feelings and be in a goddamn movie about a guy who went through the same shit I did. So it's just fucking crazy.
Yeah, well, you know, war films made from like 1939 to 1945 were all, you know, pro-American propaganda, basically. Like, you know, let's go fuck up Hitler and let's go fuck up the Japanese. But after the war, between like 46 and then like all the way to the 90s, was all somehow connected to communism. All just like, don't, you know, fuck up the Russians. Always go after the Russians. They're the new enemy. So to have a film like this that highlights the troops and the aftermath is pretty important. And just, you know, despite my feelings about the runtime, this movie is important as kind of a palate cleanser for America. As like, you know, here, like it's over, but it'll never leave. Like we're always going to remember what happened. It's, I don't know. It's just, I think it's a significant film.
Yeah. I totally agree. I'm definitely going to speak more about some of what I fell in love with as we do our awards later. And there's just some certain things I caught that I'm like, oh man, I love that in movies today. So it was cool when you catch those things that are kind of a precursor to what you love in the history of film. And I think I finally understand why people were always recommending this movie in particular. You know, it's like, oh, you got to see this. You know, don't get intimidated by the runtime. You've got to see this. Like it's kind of different than any other of its kind. So yeah, I'm very, very grateful. And Harold Russell is definitely a highlight. Someone you can kind of praise forever. So good stuff. Gladys George. That's the last performer I want to talk about. She has one nomination for Best Actress in a Lead Role, 1936. Valiant is the word for Carrie. No idea what that is. Let's check it out. It's a Wesley Ruggles movie starring Gladys George, Arlene Judge, Dudley Diggs, and John Howard. Harry Carey. Jesus Christ. This looks like something I probably won't ever watch, but hey, Gladys George, I got to shout her out.
This looks like one of those, you know, made on the back lot in 2 hours kind of movies, but you know,
very much so.
We won't, you know, I don't know that for sure. I haven't seen it, but you can kind of tell sometimes.
Sometimes you just get a feeling. There's still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people I want to talk about that are involved with this movie that have some significance in Oscar history. The first one is Hugo Friedhofer, the composer. Pretty impressive resume here. Nominated for Best Score. All these are Best Score. The Woman in the Window, 1944. Best Years of Our Lives, Win, 1946. The Bishop's Wife, 1947. Joan of Arc, 1948. Above and Beyond, 1952. Between Heaven and Hell, 1956. Boy on a Dolphin, 1957. An Affair to Remember, 1957. And The Young Lions, 1958. Now, these categories are early in the early years, obviously, are like loaded at times. And so you hear a guy's name twice. I used to think that was impressive. Now I'm kind of like, oh, it makes sense.
Well, I certainly am not going to put much stock in the nomination for Boy on a Dolphin, knowing that, because that sounds, and I'm looking at it right now, like, yeah, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's Boy on a Dolphin.
Yeah, not for me. That poster is absurd. The title's absurd. Everything about it looks like it'd be you would like have to be tripping on mushrooms to even try to watch that. So no thanks. Oh my god. Here's a name. Hugo Friedhofer. I've seen that name before, but here's a name that I when I saw it, I immediately knew what it was. And it's Greg Toland, the cinematographer. This guy, of course, is the man who is working the camera for Citizen Kane, 1941. Pretty big deal when it comes to cinematography and how that movie moves and looks. He really could just have that on his resume, and you wouldn't be able to say anything. You know, Citizen Kane's that kind of a movie. Probably the quintessential 40s movie. Actually, it is, I think. I don't think it's even a probably. I'm pretty sure it is. I think there are films that just kind of are bigger than life, and Citizen Kane is one of those. So really cool that he has that. He was also nominated for Les Miserables, 1935, Dead End, 1937. Got the win in 1939 for Wuthering Heights. That keeps coming up. Got to see that fucking movie. The Long Voyage Home, 1940, and then, of course, Citizen Kane, 1941. So only one win, 5 nominations. All movies I've kind of heard of, and I trust his talents with the camera that at least I'll be entertained.
How the hell did he not win for Citizen Kane? The cinematography of that film
know.
changed the way people make movies. That's unreal.
It losing a bunch of Oscars is the best thing for it in the long run. Citizen Kane gets to become a Rebel, a movie that people aren't just going to be like, oh, it's Best Picture winner, so it has to be this, it has to be that. They don't have any preconceived ideas about it. You just go into it knowing that a lot of people call it the best movie ever made. And you're like, holy shit, I'm watching royalty, Yeah. And it's amazing. I also really like the movie. I think it's a really awesome movie that has great shit in it and some really cool characters. So I feel lucky to be one of the people who's just a fan of it anyway. It's a movie that's right up my alley.
Yeah, it's a fantastic character study. For years in my house, I had heard that Citizen Kane is boring as hell because my mom's not a fan, but I had to watch it for film class, and I was drawn in. Like, damn, this is something. This is a strong story. This is a cool fall from grace, a rags to riches story that's just larger than life. How do you not get sucked into this? Yeah,
it's like the basis of so many things that we like is, like you said, rags to riches. Like that is the base of so many pieces of art are rise and fall and back up again and redemption. Like that's cinema. That's like storytelling. And Citizen Kane just did it in a really kind of badass way that also is, still lives on. It's very popular. So yeah, awesome. Always love to be able to shout that out. I feel like doing the 40s the past month or so. Had we not done Citizen Kane, we would have done it here. I think it is a quintessential must see from this decade for sure.
Yeah. What does he say? You provide the pictures, I'll provide the war.
Yeah. Yeah.
Love that line.
So good. My favorite stuff is the interviewing later on, how they kind of do some time jumps, and you'll have stuff now that happens like that where people are messing with the narrative to go back and forth. And that's one of the best decisions you can make in a movie, is because it then it fucking goes haywire. You're like, oh God, which part are we in? Being able to go back and forth between a young version and an old version. It's just perfect.
They're doing, one of the theaters I go to is doing a special screening of Citizen Kane, because I think this year's like the 80th anniversary. And
it is, yeah.
There's an interview with Hermann Menkowitz's grandson. And I might go.
Yeah, I mean, why not? At the very least, you get to see Citizen Kane on the big screen. So
yeah,
definitely be worth your time. Yeah, Greg Toland, the fucking man. Remember that name. He's awesome. Wuthering Heights is a movie we obviously need to check out because it comes up all the goddamn time. Daniel Mendel, the film editor for Best Years of Our Lives. This is a cool resume. Little Foxes, 1941, nominated. The Pride of the Yankees, 1942, winner. Best Years of Our Lives, 1946, winner. Witness for the Prosecution, 1957, nominated. And The Apartment, 1960, winner. That is fucking awesome. Those are movies we've talked about at great length. The Apartment had its own episode. Pride of the Yankees, we talked about on the Citizen Kane episode, of course. So we did that because it's a Mank screenplay. The other one that's nominated for an Oscar. So, and we ended up getting a great movie. Gary Cooper fucking crushes it in that. So really cool. And The Apartment, 1960. That was the second ever Oscar Sunday official Best Picture Showdown that we ever did, where we watched all 5 movies from that year, and we had an absolute blast talking about The Apartment, Elmer Gantry. The other 3, I don't really remember too hot, so I'm thinking
there was the Sundowners, there was
Sons and Lovers,
and the third,
The Alamo.
The Alamo, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. It's a decent group. Those first 2 are great. Yeah. Like, those 2 can kind of carry you. That'll happen. Like I said earlier, I think a similar thing happens this year. It's just not as bad. The Sons and Lovers, Sundowners, and Alamo are not as bad as Henry V. That shit'll happen. But you gotta love, this category, best film editing. You'll find some pretty powerful people in this category, and some names that are worth looking up and kind of learning. And Daniel Mandel is one that, just by looking at the Oscar resume, and then you go to his IMDb, it's pretty daunting. This dude had a very long career, very dominant career, working on some heavy hitters. So really cool. That's definitely a name I'm not going to forget. Costume design, Best Years of Our Lives is, of course, something we've kind of seen before. It's not revolutionary or anything, but they do a great job of just selling that town, these people, that the Boone City, they really sell it, and they really sell, that goes with, art direction, production design, all those things, and costume design. I think they're all working kind of hand in hand here, where I legitimately felt like I was taken away for 2 hours and 50 minutes. And that's not easy to do.
Yeah, I agree. This is the tone of, small town America right after everyone's coming home. I loved at the beginning when they're just kind of going through the town, and you see the general store and the soda jerk and the restaurant. And you just reminded of this is what they were fighting for. This is home. And I don't know, you get a warm feeling looking at that.
Yeah, no kidding. I think that stuff, when it's nailed correctly with these kind of certain American cities, whether they be fictional or not, when you nail that stuff, it can make your film last forever, because it's so much fun to go into kind of a time machine and go back to these places and kind of see what they were seeing, and how people were dressed at that certain time. It's one of my favorite parts of Back to the Future, that aspect of it, of whoa, they're going to a completely different era, completely different decade, that is completely, it's so committed to being, this is old, this is old. That's one of the magic things of movie making, is that we actually can witness stuff happening in the 40s right now. And that's really cool. It's one of my favorite things about doing this show. It's one of my favorite things about just watching shit.
Yeah, little things like Back to the Future, for example, the attention to detail is when Marty's trying to open the Coke and George takes it from him and puts it in the machine, the snapper, because twist off caps hadn't been invented yet.
Yeah, that's that commitment, that attention to detail is money. And it's one of my favorite things about movie making, and just TV shows, whatever it is. If you're filming something and you can take me to a decade, take me to a certain place, I'm all in. And they do a damn good job. And I think Irene Sharaff is probably the person you could point to who had a clear vision with this movie. Her resume is insane. Hold on. Got to take a fucking drink here, because this is one of those resumes that's real long. First nomination was An American in Paris. Got the win. That's a huge movie. Call Me Madam, 1953, nominated. A Star is Born, 1954, nominated. Brigadoon, 1954, nominated. A Star is Born also worked on art direction, nominated. Guys and Dolls, 1955, nominated. The King and I, 1956, got the win for Best Costume Design. Porgy and Bess, 1959, nominated. Can 1960, nominated. Flower Drum Song, 1961, nominated. West Side Story, 1961, winner. Cleopatra, 1963, winner. Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, 1966, winner. The Taming of the Shrew, 1967, nominated. Hello, Dolly, 1969, nominated. And the final nomination is The Other Side of Midnight, 1977. Oof, just fucking lights out. Some majorly important movies, mainly, West Side Story, Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, The King and I, A Star is Born. These are huge movies. And Irene Sharaff, a woman probably worth a documentary. Jesus Christ.
I love looking at the Oscar resumes of the technical people, because you can see the sentence won 5 Oscars, and it's not even crazy.
Yeah, no, it's okay, let me look on this. There's probably going to be at least 20. Yeah. Jesus, man. Remember that one time I forgot Edith Head, this is the kind of realm they're, oh, one, yeah, 5 or 6, yeah, no big deal. It's just the way it is for these people. Last two people can put them together, work together in the art direction department. George Jenkins and Penny Ferguson. So I'll read off kind of their, because they would typically work a lot together. And I was very impressed when I looked at the first 4 movies on George Jenkins' filmography, like on IMDb. They have that main 4 is All the President's Men, The China Syndrome, Best Years of Our Lives, and Sophie's Choice.
Jesus, that's you right there. Holy hell.
Yeah, that's my life right there. I love all those movies. Got the win for All the President's Men and then nominated for The China Syndrome. But this is a resume worth more than just that, just those Oscar nominations. This shit, I love looking at these people and just everything that they were involved in. You just never know what you'll find. Sophie's Choice, I don't think we've really talked about on this show. Unbelievable movie. Unbelievable. One that I can't wait to do on this show. I hope to do it. Honestly, I'm hoping to do it at some point in the fall. Meryl Streep, that's probably the best thing I've ever seen her do is definitely inside that movie somewhere. I love Night Moves, 1975. Fucking awesome movie. That's George Jenkins also. He's just kind of everywhere. Funny Lady, 1975, also awesome movie. Monsoon, 1952. Of course, I've always wanted to see that.
Have you ever seen Presumed Innocent?
No, I need to. I've heard great things.
Not bad. Harrison Ford, courtroom drama. He cheats on his wife with a colleague, and then the colleague shows up dead, and all his dirty laundry is aired in court. And
perfect.
He's the primary suspect, but he didn't do it. So you think, you're not really sure. It's not bad. He's great. And I love a good courtroom drama.
I do too. I when I'm in the mood for courtroom drama, it's like I'm what do they call it? When people are hangry, when they're so hungry that they're angry.
You're fiending.
When I need a good court, yeah, just jonesing for and it's usually a few good men. I'm usually just like, I just want to watch a few good men. Everybody fuck off. You go into kind of tunnel vision, and it's just, there's nothing else you can think about. And that happens to me occasionally. Anatomy of a Murder is now on my all-time courtroom drama movies where I need to see fucking George C. Scott and James Stewart battling it out. I need to see it, and I don't want to see anything else. So it's a very, very powerful subgenre.
Oh yeah. In addition to those two, I'll throw The Verdict into the ring.
Of course, yeah.
A fun movie. And then one, I love The Verdict, but I also really, really like The Rainmaker. That was fantastic.
Hell yeah. Talk about entertaining. Yeah.
Yeah.
Jesus. Yeah. The Firm. I love The Firm. That's not really core. Now I'm thinking more in a kind of, thriller, like, no, I'm just throwing those movies out, but The Firm has some great stuff that I think is kind of from that same DNA. Awesome stuff. I love it. That's it for individuals. There's like 11. This movie is filled with a ton of people who are very relevant during their day, during their prime, when it comes to just box office success, critical success, all these different things. And Best Years of Our Lives is one of the heavier hitters we've ever covered on here. It has the most nominations at this ceremony with 8. It wins 7 awards, and there's also an 8th award if you count Harold Russell's fucking honorary award. So it's just kind of a crazy place to be. It's not every week that we cover a movie this big.
Love that they're just like, you know what? He's not an actor. He's not going to win. But give him something. I mean, he did lose both his hands fighting for this country. We should give him something. And I love the idea that like he just wandered in there with an Oscar, and then they just gave him another one. I know that's not what happened, but that's what I like to picture happened.
Me too. Yeah, I would love to, and I love picturing him with his cigarette in one hook and his fucking Oscar in the other. Like, let's go. This shit's mine. It's awesome.
Weirdly, Laurence Olivier also got an honorary award for being so daring to bring Henry V to the big screen.
Yeah, and that's a film that actually came out in 1944. All these other movies that are competing came out in 1946. I don't know exactly what the cause is. I think it didn't have an official release here until later. I don't really know.
In 44, England was pretty much on fire. So that's probably why.
For sure. Do you think that this movie just wasn't distributed properly because of that during that time? Probably.
Well, I read into it. Winston Churchill was heavily involved in the production of this film. He wanted Olivier to basically turn it into pro-British propaganda to rally the Brits in solidarity. And I imagine, people weren't going to the movies during the Blitz. So I think they just needed to wait till this was over for this movie to get a release. And then by the time it did, the war was over and people could go watch Shakespeare again.
Yeah. Oh, geez. Well, we're going to talk about Olivier here in a second. With this ceremony, obviously we haven't seen everything from this year and from the 19th Academy Awards. With Best Years of Our Lives, it was nominated for Best Sound, Best Music, Best Film Editing, Best Screenplay, Best Director, Best Actor in a Supporting Role, Best Actor in a Lead Role, and Best Picture. It won all of those except for Best Sound.
Yeah.
So pretty impressive. What I do want to do, instead of going through every category, is with specifically the Best Actor category, we have seen all of these except for one. We have not seen the Jolson story with Larry Parks, who was nominated for Best Actor, but we have seen Frederick March in The Best Years of Our Lives, the winner. We've seen Laurence Olivier, we've seen Gregory Peck, and we've seen James Stewart. So, do you think they got it right?
No, I don't.
Okay. So I'm guessing you think Mr. James Stewart should have won here.
I don't know. Gregory Peck really killed it in the Yearling. Yes, absolutely. Jimmy Stewart. It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, it's the film he's most known for. It's a beautiful performance of a man who's just so committed to doing the right thing, no matter what the cost to himself. And it's a character you can't help but love and rally behind. And yeah, I think his performance is lights out. Frederick March is good in The Best Years of Our Lives, but I honestly think he's overshadowed. Yeah, I think that this should have been Jimmy's second Oscar, if not his third or fourth, if in a perfect world.
Yeah, of course. That's a Philadelphia Story, 1940, but there are performances that are definitely better, I think, in the greater scheme of his whole career. George Bailey, what a great character. What a great movie. And James Stewart, I spoke about Olivia De Havilland having her own kind of glow, her own, distinct style. Stewart's the same way. Stewart, it's like when he's talking, his voice, he can't explain it. It sounds like there's something in his mouth. It's like, come on, Clarence, what's going on here? Yeah. It's that classic kind of, thing that we all do, oh, come on, get the papers, it's when you think of 40s, 50s, you think of a voice like that.
It's this Midwest everyman voice. You can't help but rally behind it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
How could you not?
Want a fair shot here.
I want this guy to succeed. Anyone who sounds like that's got to be a solid guy.
I love when he comes back, Clarence gets his wings and he comes back and he's like seeing his kids and he's like, oh God, I could just eat you all up. It's so good. That was a blast watching that movie, knowing we were going to talk about it today here on episode 65. It was cool because that's the one that we were rewatching. That's the one where we knew this is a good movie. This is a good movie. There's nothing you can really take away from it. I've never met anybody who's just like, fuck that piece of shit. No one is ever like, It's a Wonderful Life sucks. It's not, it doesn't have that ever, it's just kind of a universally beloved movie. And Stewart is of course at the center of it. So I'm totally fine with him winning. I do think Frederick March is very good, but to me, there's not really anybody that's leading this movie. To me, they're all three, meaning Frederick, Harold, and Dana Andrews. To me, they're all supporting. I don't know. That's just kind of the way I looked at it. I looked at it as they all had to be there. There wasn't someone leading the charge, in my opinion. But maybe the runtime would say otherwise. I don't know.
I think more than anybody, I think this is Dana Andrews' movie.
That's yeah. I got the sense that he was the kind of the guy that William Wyler was like, all right, I'm most fascinated with him, with what he's doing with this character. That definitely is definitely a thought. Dana Andrews is fantastic in this movie. I was rattled by some of the stuff in his storyline. Really, yeah, great performance. Don't know why he's not here.
I got a good chunk into the movie before I realized that he wasn't Gene Kelly.
I thought the same thing, but I was like, I know Gene Kelly's not in this. So I was like, stop, Austin. Who is that? Dana Andrews. Okay.
There were so many like broad-chested, tall, white actors in the 40s and 50s who looked so fucking similar that it's hard to pick them out of a lineup,
Oh yeah, for sure. Dana Andrews has if I were to envision, just random guy from Hollywood, 40s, 50s, like he's basically the prototype. Yeah.
You lock Dana Andrews, Gene Kelly, and Carl Malden in a room, I'm not going to be able to tell who's who.
Oh, that's fantastic.
I'll tell him to start dancing, and then I'll be able to tell who Gene Kelly is.
That's fantastic. I love it. Gene Kelly, once he starts talking, you might, it starts kind of moving around. You might be able to tell him apart. Are there any other categories that you want to kind of look at in that way? Best director, maybe?
Well, I mean, I haven't seen Brief Encounter or The Killers, so I don't know if I could really give an informed opinion here on any of these.
Of those three, we're talking about Clarence Brown, Frank Capra, and William Wyler. Who's doing the best job there? Definitely not Clarence Brown.
No, I mean, I feel like you give me, Two Friends and a Dog, I'll give you a better movie. Anyway, I didn't care for The Yearling. I didn't,
neither did I.
So fucking sappy. It really is between
the cover. The poster itself is just like, oh God.
And I gotta say, I fucking hate deer, so that didn't help. This is definitely a battle between Wyler and Capra here, which is just a great head-to-head of two incredible filmmakers. And I gotta go with my clear bias here and give it to Capra.
That's fair. I mean, you can't really argue with that. I think It's a Wonderful Life does what we were talking about with going to a specific place, specific time period. It does that while also observing it from the lens of not existing, watching life continue without your participation. And that's a whole mindfuck of its own. And it's so influential to so many things that we've talked about, so many movies that people love. It's Frank Capra seems to have done that the most out of this era of guys. Yeah. Or these movies, you can pinpoint certain movies that he made that just transcend time. And that's one of the most important things you can do as a filmmaker is make something that's going to last forever. So I have no arguments with that. I'd probably vote the same.
Yeah. Capra is one of my favorite directors of this era. Everything I've seen of his has been lights out and just enjoyable. And especially his work with Jimmy Stewart. Like, they brought out really good things in one another. Yeah, hats off.
Hell yeah, man. Well, do you want to rank these bad boys or what?
Oh, let's do this. I have a lot to say.
Yeah, definitely. When it comes to Best Picture Showdown, this is definitely the most fun part for you and I. Hopefully for the listeners as well. We're gonna rank all 5 of these movies from 5 to 1. We'll go back and forth. After that, we will give our awards out for best years of our lives, and we'll get the hell out of here. Number 5. I think I know where we're both going.
Unless y'all thought we were being just sarcastic this entire time, it is clear that the only thing I hate more than deer is Shakespeare. It's Henry V.
Yeah, same here. By a landslide. What'd you give this movie?
4.
Yeah, I think I gave it 2.5 stars on Letterboxd. I think I would give it a 5. It's just, but the more I think about it, the more angry I get. So I think probably 4 is right. Laurence Olivier, I have not been sold yet. I will keep my eye out, but I have not been sold. Hamlet and Henry V have left a sour, nasty taste in my mouth. These movies that are highly, highly regarded, both nominated for tons of shit. One of them won Best Picture. The other one's up for a bunch of shit. And Laurence Olivier gets honorary awards and all this stuff. It's almost like it was impressive at the time to some people. Therefore, it must be impressive to us now. I totally disagree. I will give, James Stewart, Humphrey Bogart, Burt Lancaster, Gary Cooper. I'll give those guys their flowers all day, every day. But Laurence Olivier is the one guy that this show has shed light on him that I have not liked.
I got to say, it is so refreshing to hear that, because I feel exactly the same way. I have been told for years that Laurence Olivier is not just a good actor. He is the fucking greatest actor.
Yeah.
And I've yet to see anything to prove that. What I've seen of his has been lukewarm at best. His Shakespeare is over the top or too subtle to notice. The people he surrounds himself with in these movies are overacting so hard, it's embarrassing. The pageantry is about it. Like, the costume design and the set design is impressive, but that's kind of it. I know less about Henry V now than I did before I watched the movie. I don't know who this guy, like the Timothée Chalamet movie from a couple years ago, that gave me the gist of Henry V.
Yeah.
I liked that movie. I'm like, all right, this is what it is.
Yeah.
I don't care for Shakespearean language. I find it irritating and pretentious, and I don't understand this fervor for Shakespeare films. Like, why do scholars love 2, 3, 4-hour movies of just British actors saying shit no one today can fucking understand? I know I'm sounding kind of ignorant here. I don't give a shit. I'm tired of this.
Yeah, definitely run the risk of sounding like you don't know what you're talking about when you say stuff like that. I'm in the same boat. But I'll definitely stick to my guns, and I know you will. Until I'm won over, the stuff I've seen just hasn't done it for me. So I'll keep my eye open for stuff that's just different, that's a different pace than this. Yeah. But I'm just I'm kind of turned off by it. Well, the movies themselves are they're just far too long.
Yeah.
And and redundant as hell. And you feel like, oh, wait, I thought this just happened 20 minutes ago. It happens, or it like folds itself over and over and over. And I'm just kind of over it.
Well, I look at his contemporaries, Jimmy Stewart, Clark Gable, Peter O'Toole, Olivia De Havilland, Katharine Hepburn, people who made their mark on a film, people who were really creating different characters in every film they did. And then you've got Olivier, who I think just thought his shit didn't stink and just did, his Shakespeare character every time, thinking like, I am above Hollywood. I make my own mark. Because it wasn't just acting. He wrote and directed these films. Like, he was a control freak. And I just don't think it holds up. I don't really understand where these like hundreds on Rotten Tomatoes are coming from for these films. I think it's critics who are afraid to say anything against a guy who's been just like, fawned over for decades. I think people today just are afraid to sound like the dumbest guy in the room.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right. I think that can be true. And it also can be true that there are people who legitimately like the Shakespeare shit.
Yeah.
They can have it. They can have it. I'm just not losing sleep over it. It with movies, specifically when you're trying to, talk about them on a podcast, you're trying to find things to spotlight, things to, and usually you can do that no matter what. But with this genre, this style of film, it's very hard for me to pick out what I actually enjoy and what's worth kind of taking away from it. With the Yearling, I kind of laughed a couple times because I was like, what the fuck is this? You're just kind of like, are you kidding me? With Henry V, I didn't even do that. I was just like, I'd rather do anything else. I'd rather watch shitty TV. I'd rather be on my computer. I'd rather just fucking stare at the wall. It's not what I want to do when I'm spending 2 hours trying to be entertained. It's not what I want to do anymore.
I zoned out. I'm like, and we're watching like people put on a play about Henry V in the movie. I've never read Henry V because I'm not a fan of self-torture. I don't hate myself that much.
Yeah.
So outside of school, Shakespeare can fuck off.
Yeah.
So I don't get it. I mean, sure, you actors and you scholars, you do you, but keep it out of my playground.
Yeah, just not up Connor and Austin alley. That's for sure. Number 4. So that's the undisputed number 5. That is probably the worst Best Picture nominee we've ever talked about. Let's leave it behind us. Number 4. What do you have?
I have The Yearling.
Same. Okay, this is looking like it's going to be.
I think so.
Yeah.
You ever see Old Yeller? Because it's the same movie.
Yes. Yep. Yes, I have.
But I can relate to a kid who likes a dog.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
The Yearling is fucking phony, like Marley and Me bullshit. It's fucking terrible.
Fucking Bambi and me.
I give this movie a 5. It's just mediocre street. Yeah.
Gregory Peck and Jane Wyman, 2 actors I respect. What happened here? Why are they here? They are so much better than this. And Jane Wyman, especially, like, she's jealous of a fucking deer. Are you kidding me? Like, could you be a worse mother? To spend the whole movie just trying to get rid of this deer and then just straight up shooting it in the fucking head and just being like, I'm sorry, it was an accident. My finger slipped. Fuck off with that. And then making the kid finish the job.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's like, wait a minute. Is this really happening?
Then for the kid to just be like, I hate you so much, and then go on the river for a while and then come back because, like, I'm hungry. And then the movie's over. But that's like the last 10 minutes of the movie. The rest of it is just shitty life lessons from Gregory Peck and this kid just carrying a deer around. This is classic Oscar bait. Classic. I can't believe this worked. If I was on the Academy in 1946, I'd be like, are you kidding me with this?
Yeah, like, what kind of gimmick are you trying to pull? Yeah.
I feel like they were making fun of me. Like, I feel like I was being mocked.
Jeez. What's the funniest thing about this movie is that it was MGM's most successful movie of the year. Made a lot of money at the box office.
MGM's most successful movie. Did they just release this? Like, did they do anything else? It's like, I published one book. It is my most successful book ever, regardless of what happened.
Unfortunately, MGM was churning them out like nobody's goddamn business at this time. And just to see the amount of, money it made and Oscar nominations that it got is like, what the fuck? I don't even know what to compare it to today. It's just not good.
Were people just so burned out by World War II that they were like, we need some kind of American hope, and they found it in a baby deer that keeps fucking up a family farm?
I guess so. That's sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad place to be.
Just get the kid a dog and fucking eat the deer. Just venison. I'm surprised they didn't at the end. Like at the end, when he comes back and it's like, I'm hungry. I'm surprised they didn't just give him like venison stew and just have a like, oh God, moment. Because that's good meat. They're gonna need that.
Yeah.
Like I have zero emotional attachment to deer. Like I was out from the second this film started. I don't care.
Oh Jesus, the base is going to be a deer, not even a dog. Yeah, I'm out. Yeah.
Any other animal, I would have been like, well, I get it, but a deer, fuck them. Deer almost killed me once, so I don't care for them.
Yeah, I've also had my, living in Texas, you have your fair share of run-ins with deer. And they'll just be in random fucking neighborhoods hanging out. Definitely, I've had some scary moments. Definitely hit a couple in my time of driving. God, that movie. I just don't think I'll ever have another conversation about it again.
Yeah, this is it. This is it for the year.
This is it. Get it out there while you can.
I think for everybody, I think we're the first people to talk about this movie in like 70 years.
Yeah, I know that. I actually do know. I listened to an episode. I think it was the podcast The Watch, I think, with Chris Ryan and Andy Greenwald. I think that's what the podcast was. And they were talking about movies. There are some that have not, when Rotten Tomatoes was created, they basically made a library of all these movies that they rewatched and watched and rewatched, and given these kind of scores. And that there's some movies that they haven't rewatched in a really long time. So the Rotten Tomatoes score is almost like it's only been a one-time thing. So it's like one guy watched The Yearling and he's like, yeah, this is great. But there's no real consensus. And that's happened with a lot of old movies, pre-Hays Code, that people haven't actually reevaluated in the right way. And this year, it has to be like Henry V has to be in that category.
We're the reevaluators. We're the ones who.
Yeah.
I wrote up a review on the website and was like, yeah, these fucking suck.
Yeah.
Just because they're old doesn't make them masterpieces. We got to remember
that'd be a cool podcast, the reevaluators, and you just take movies that are 100% and just check it. Be like, wait, is this actually 100%? That'd be fucking awesome. I'd listen to that shit. Someone go do that. Take that and run with it. And watch The Yearling first.
I would do that, but it means I have to watch this fucking movie again. So no.
And Henry V. So someone else do it for us, please. Make the reevaluators, and you could do the regulators. You could go reevaluators.
Mount up. We could, we'll hire some intern, like one of my cousins or something, make them do it.
That'd be money. I'd be all in on that. I would love to witness that happen. Number 3. So we're both on the same page so far. I think we're still going to be right there with number 3.
Unless you had a completely different viewpoint on this movie, number 3 is The Razor's Edge.
Yes. Yeah. Same. Anne Baxter was about the only thing I liked about this movie. She actually won Best Supporting Actress. I thought she was pretty good as Sophie McDonald. Pretty much a forgettable movie other than that.
Yeah. For 3 it's only at 3 because like the other 2 movies were so much worse. 3 is not a positive thing.
No. Like my number 3 for 1979 is like a fucking Apocalypse Now, So, yeah. fucking hell.
The Razor's Edge is one of the most unnecessarily complex movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, that was the main issue. Yes, convoluted as hell.
It totally doesn't need to be. I think I just, I don't give I've said this before on all of the podcasts. I don't care about rich people problems. I never have, and I never will. I don't like books that are notorious for being like impossible to decipher. Like that's fun. Fuck that. And I don't. Yeah, I don't care for like movies that are over 2.5 hours long for no reason. Like this movie checks so many boxes of shit I hate. And the character of what's her name? Isabel. Maybe like one of the most horrible human beings I've seen in film history. Just me, mine. Just like Veruca Salt all grown up. Just a horrible person. And the guy, I don't remember anybody's fucking name in this movie. Larry. It's weird. I don't know why, but it's just weird to hear the name Larry in a 1946 movie. That feels like such a more recent name. It's like going back to like 1700s and finding somebody named like Dave. Anyway, Larry.
Dave.
Larry wants to travel the world, and Isabel's like, why would you want to do that? I'm right here. And he's like, well, there's more to life than you. And she's like, what? That's impossible. I'm going to go marry somebody else, but never stop thinking about you. Like, why do I care? Where's the investment? Where's the emotional investment? Like, who are these people and why do I care what they think? Oh.
I don't, there is, it's not there, it's not there to be picked up, Connor, sometimes a movie will give that little nugget to you. Hey, we know you're in a movie filled with pieces of shit, but here's why you care, because it's so goddamn entertaining. This doesn't have either thing, We talked about just a little bit ago, Citizen Kane. Citizen Kane, the guy, I can't stand, I can't stand this main character, Charles Foster Kane. But everything happening around him is so fucking fascinating.
Yeah.
and is told so well. The Razor's Edge doesn't have that. And if a movie doesn't have that, it might as well just not even work. Some of my very favorite movies are movies that understand that every character is like very flawed and it's like very, very of the earth and just kind of shitty. But it has things going for it because the movie moves well. This movie's problem is it's convoluted and it doesn't move with a pace. It doesn't have a tempo. It doesn't have like the right pulse. I was kind of frustrated because there's something there. There's something. And that's probably why it edges out those other two for number 3, because there's something I see, but no, it's still, I think I gave this one a 5 as well. Just whatever.
Yeah. Not quite my tempo. And the character of like, what's his name? Elliot, who everyone says is like such a kind and gentle soul, but spends the entire movie shitting on Larry because he's poor. Like nobody lives up to any of these expectations. Isabel never learns anything. She's married and she is still pining over Larry so much to the point where she will not let him be with anybody else, even though she's fucking married and has like 2 kids. Like
weird.
I felt bad for her husband, who's just a nice dude. Like he didn't do anything to her. Like, and then in the end, like they tried to play it off with Gone with the Wind. Like, frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn, but you didn't earn that. You don't
know.
Yeah. This is ridiculous. And then I think Bill Murray remade this in the 80s.
Oh, that's fantastic.
As part of his deal for appearing in Little Shop of Horrors, he was like, I'll do it, but I want to do The Razor's Edge. And they're like, well, all right. Why? I don't care. You're Bill Murray. Fine. And that version apparently is somehow worse.
Yikes. Yikes. I don't think I want to witness that. That sounds like pure homework that I don't need in my life. Oh, jeez.
But like you said, Ann Baxter shines. I think she's the reason it's at 3, because there's no redeeming qualities of Henry V or the Yearling, but she tries. She's trying to bring a character with a realistic trajectory into this. And I respected that. But then, she gets killed like immediately after that. It's this movie. I don't understand. Like who is this for? Who believes that this is like an absolute masterpiece? Someone out there loves this movie and they're a sadist.
I would agree. Someone out there likes that Henry V shit. So yeah, I just I don't know. There's multiple people out there.
I had a teacher once who I was in his class for one day, and then I was like, "This is not going to work out," and I left I dropped the class. He was the guy who taught Shakespeare, and the very first day, he's like, "I hope you've come here to learn." Like he was putting like airs on his voice because he like ran the theater department too, and he was talking to us like fucking Othello. And I'm just like, I'm not going to be able to work with this. So I didn't take Shakespeare in college, and that's why. I got around the requirement by taking a class on Dante, and I enjoyed that.
Yeah, I'm sure. That was a good audible. Yeah, but that was much better. Jesus. Oh, so
People
frustrating.
Use Shakespeare as a fucking weapon, man. People use it as a way to make you look stupid, and I hate that. I hate people who use literature and history as a way to make somebody else look inferior. And so I've got kind of a beef with Shakespeare people.
Yeah, totally understand that. I always think it's funny, when like a character uses it in a movie, like uses quotes from Shakespeare. I always find that to be funny because usually I'm kind of like, fuck this guy.
Did you ever see that episode of Frasier where they ran into like an actor they loved when they were kids who starred in a production of some Shakespeare play, and it turns out that their memory wasn't great and he's terrible at it, but they've organized a one-man show for the guy and they can't admit to him that they hate him now. And it's Derek Jacobi, who is like a famous British actor, and he was playing a bad actor. It was so funny.
That's perfect.
He's like overacting the death scenes. He's like, like breathing in, like, it's so funny.
Oh God, I love that.
Yeah.
God, I love that. Down to the top two here. Here we are talking about a couple good movies now. What's your number two?
My number two is The Best Years of Our Lives.
Okay, let's hear. Let's hear why it doesn't take that top spot.
It is almost entirely due to the fact that this film is 10 minutes short of 3 hours, and it does not need to be. There's so much in here that we don't need. I don't think we need the love story between Dana Andrews' character and Teresa Wright.
Fred and Peggy.
Fred and Peggy. There we go. Yeah, we don't need that. I feel like it's unnecessary. This is a movie about, coming home from war. And I feel like the PTSD idea is only briefly touched upon. I would have liked to explore their psyche more. I feel like we only really dig into Homer. And like the ending, do we need like the entire wedding ceremony? I do. That's all we need to hear.
Yeah, God, that was intense. How committed they were to that, to all the going back and forth. Like, ooh.
Yeah, it's just I was hoping for so much more, and I felt like there's a good movie in here somewhere, but it's buried under so much filler, and that's a bummer. So,
yeah. I loved this movie. It's my number one. So of course, It's a Wonderful Life is my two, and that's your number one. Before we talk about that movie, which I can understand, I do think it's very strong. It's a Wonderful Life is a very, very strong film. The Best Years of Our Lives is, I had no idea how familiar I would feel watching this movie, and how similar it is to so many things that I fucking adore. There is no to me, there's no like climax in the movie. It just goes. And I love shit like that.
That is not a positive to me.
Yeah. I know. I realize I sound like a crazy person. I like movies that are almost hangout movies. With this one, you just have the underlying war themes throughout that affect little parts of the story. But ultimately, life never stops. And when these guys come back from war, from battle, from fighting, and doing all different kinds of things that'll just completely change the way you look at life. Nothing has stopped. And there's specific scenes like when Homer is getting ice cream and he's visiting Fred, and that guy just won't stop talking shit. He's like, the war is fucking bullshit. And he's like, what are you trying to teach? And he's like, some good old fashioned Americanism, like those little things that just affect their everyday. I found to be fascinating. They never once were overselling the fact that they all fought. It wasn't like, oh motherfucker, I've been over there and I've seen crazy stuff. It was very the way they did it when Fred's having his nightmares. Fuck, this is real. Like, this is pretty crazy. And when Homer is showing Wilma how to, like, I can't even button my fucking shirt. I can almost do everything that I need to do to survive, but I can't even like properly put my shirt on. Like I'm almost there to being a full on human. And fucking Al, like, Jesus Christ, that character, the reliance on alcohol, the reliance on just being absent in everything, and not being totally checked in. I found it all to be super fascinating. I thought I would get bored. I thought this was going to be one of those kind of just typical 40s movies that people are just obsessed with that I don't totally connect with, but I felt a huge connection to it. I felt with the storytelling trope of using three people. That's one of my favorite things in movies is when you pick a few people, whether it be 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever it is. My favorite movie of all time, Magnolia, very much mirrors a lot of the stuff that's happening in Best Years of Our Lives, where it just doesn't even give you designated time on each person. It just kind of throws you around. And then, sometimes they run into each other, and it's just, I love shit like that. I love a good observant film that's just allows you to kind of, in a time of a lot of propaganda, a lot of shit going on in the early 40s with American filmmaking, this movie allows you to kind of make your decision and kind of feel the way you want to feel about what life is like after you come back from serving in the war. So it's just kind of mind-boggling. And the 2 hour, 50-minute runtime is a lot. It's a lot to handle, but a lot of my favorite movies are extremely long. And I do find it effective in the way that it can give you that kind of TV feeling where you're constantly with these characters, constantly with them. And then finally there's, an ending where you're like, oh shit, I'm going to miss those people. I like that feeling. It just worked on me. This movie worked on me. I'm going to buy it. I'm, going to watch it again at some point. I was really, really satisfied with it. And my initial response was to give it a 9. I was just kind of like, whoa, holy shit. I was swept off my feet. I've heard a lot about it. I've heard it's a classic, but I didn't know it would be kind of a classic for me. There's classics that you understand why they are what they are, but they're not totally movies for you. This movie is very much up my alley. Reminded me of a lot of stuff I like. Reminded me of the way Linklater tells stories. Just like, here you go. Here's these people living life, doing their thing. I love that shit. It's one of my favorite things you can do in movies. So I was very grateful. But It's a Wonderful Life is no slouch. Jesus, what a film. So I'll let you kind of take it away with that one. That's my number 2 and your number 1. But it's so obvious that those are the front 2 and the other 3 are just in the back seat. They're like in the trunk. Yeah.
Yeah. I give them all the number 5 spot, I would.
Yeah, exactly. They're pretty much all tied for 5th, and then these two are battling it out.
Well, I understand. You make a lot of good points about the best years of our lives. It is definitely, it has an audience. I understand why people resonate with it, why you found such value in it. I get that. I just didn't find it. And
it's totally fair. Did you watch it with your grandma today?
She had a hairdressing appointment, so no, I watched it alone.
Damn. Yeah, I know she's a huge fan, right?
Yeah, she kept asking me, like, when she got back, she's like, so what do you think? And I heartbreakingly had to tell her, like, well, it's not really doing it for me. I felt bad.
She's like, shit.
But I didn't hate it. I did give it a 7. The performances are good. There are moments. I love the beginning. I love the end. It's just the very long middle. I didn't really dig that much.
That's fair. The beginning is undeniable. The beginning of the film is like the first hour is awesome. Is so goddamn good. I love so many of those bits. Like when they're just piss drunk, Fred and Al in the back seat. That shit was hilarious. Oh man.
Well, I loved when they're sharing a taxi and they drop Homer off, and Homer's like, well, hey, what if before this, we go tie one on before we go home? And Al tells him, like, you're home now, son. Like, don't put this off. Like, I like that. Like that the tone in his voice was like, you need this. We all need this.
It's time. Yeah.
Yeah. And I was hoping for more of that, but then like this turns into, in my opinion, kind of an average 40s melodrama for a while, and then resumes what the beginning kind of set up at the end. And
that's fair.
I was really hoping for more originality, more of a tighter story. And I also didn't like that it just kind of stopped. Like you said, there's no climax.
Yeah, no, it's not like dun 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 dun. There you go. It's just kind of like, well, Fred, I guess is gonna work with these fucking planes. I guess.
Yeah, and it's also, you don't see a lot of divorce in 40s movies either. Also I love Peggy just straight up going like, I'm gonna break up that marriage. Like, you never see that. Never see women just say, like, in a heroic way, like, I'm gonna wreck that relationship.
Peggy was an interesting character. They probably didn't go into it enough for it to be worth it. The whole love story, like you were saying.
Yeah.
But there's some interesting stuff there for sure.
Well, yeah, it's a bummer. I always hate when I don't like the movie because I always feel bad somehow. I don't know why.
No, it's good. We've talked about this before. It's good every once in a while to have a little bit of a divisive movie where we just see it differently. Yeah.
But It's a Wonderful Life is, oh my God, one of the most optimistic, heartwarming movies that has ever been made, I think.
It's like a Pixar movie. It's like, good God.
How do you not just like love this? It's such a perfect family watch. I remember this is another movie my grandma loved, and she had been waiting for years to finally convince me to watch it. But for years, I was very much like, it's an old movie. I don't know if I'm going to like it because I used to be an asshole. And if you don't grow as a human being, who wants to be around you anyway?
Yeah.
I finally watched it and I was drawn in immediately. I'm like, this is beautiful. This is a man who gives up everything in his life for everyone else. And in the end, they recognize it and they help him out of a jam and save his life. And it's also, the concept of finding out, like, what would the world be like if you had never existed in it? Like, you wonder that sometimes. Like, if I didn't, if I wasn't here, what would you be doing right now if I'd never been born? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fascinating. Yeah. I might be like in an alleyway doing drugs or something,
I highly doubt I've been that much of an influence on you, but all right.
I'm just trying to go down the weirdest path. Yeah, I could have just, no Oscar Sunday, no Filmgazm, just fucking losing my mind. Yeah.
I'm just picturing like one throwaway thing I might have said to you years ago, like, heroin's bad. You really shouldn't try it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh, geez. So
but
good.
It is, Jimmy Stewart is the perfect guy to play George Bailey. He's the one, everybody loves Jimmy Stewart. Everybody's going to love George Bailey. And it's just his chemistry with Donna Reed, fucking Lionel Barrymore is just evil Mr. Potter, just bastard of a human being. Thomas Mitchell is the, forgetful uncle.
Perfect.
Yeah. It's become a tradition. I've watched it pretty much every Christmas since I saw it for the first time. It's become, just one we put on in December. And I adore it. It's a beautiful movie. And yeah, there's no way anything here was going to beat this for the number one spot. I have a very deep affinity for this film. So it's a 9.
Fuck yeah. Yeah, I have it as an 8. It's just, it's solid as hell. I think my favorite thing about this film is Clarence. Fucking Clarence. Just what a wild decision for your movie to actually have a guardian angel go down. It's this thing that I normally would be like, what the fuck is this? Like, what are we doing? But it works. It works well. It works really well. And you take Bedford Falls, this little town, and it's just kind of this is, again, goes along with what we were talking about. When you nail stuff, when you get the production design, the costume design, and these different things right, and you nail this small American town from a specific period, this movie is going to last forever. It's got Jimmy Stewart putting in probably his most, not probably, it's his most recognizable performance, his, most well-received overall, I think. George Bailey is just an icon. So yeah, awesome movie. Those two I like a lot, and the other 3, not so much. I had a feeling that's where it was going to go.
What do you want, Mary? You want the moon? Like, it's so good. The
$8,000. Who cares? Yeah.
The whole reason this became such a hit is it wasn't that successful when it came out. It didn't do that hot.
Oh no.
But
yeah,
it ended up somebody didn't renew the trademark for it, so any channel could play it on TV. ABC, CBS, NBC, anybody could show it. So every channel showed it at Christmas. So everybody watched it at Christmas, and it became one of the most watched Christmas movies of all time. And now here we are. I'm going to watch it this Christmas for damn sure.
Yeah. I'll probably skip it because I watched it here in August. Fair enough. But I don't know. Who knows? It is a great movie, but definitely one of the most iconic holiday films. That was fun. So we both had Henry V at 5, The Yearling at 4, Razor's Edge at 3. You had Best Years of Our Lives at 2, and It's a Wonderful Life at 1, and I had those flipped. So yeah, very similar ranking this time around. Again, unfortunate that you catch 3 movies that are just not really worth talking about. But Best Years of Our Lives. If we're gonna honor this movie and go out of that episode 65 the right way, we gotta give it some awards. So if you've been with us, then you know exactly what's going on. This is always how we end our show. If this is your first time, then welcome. We have the Tarantino for best quote / line. We have the Ennio Morricone Award for best music moment. We have the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award for best performance of the movie. And of course, the Roger Deakins for the best scene of the film. So I'll let you start with your Tarantino.
This comes from the first time that our 3 boys are tying one on at Butch's. And Butch is playing the piano. Homer's kind of like, I don't want to go home. They're looking at me different. And Butch says, give them time, kid. They'll catch on. Your folks get used to you and you'll be used to them. Then everything will settle down nicely. Unless we have another war, then none of us have to worry because we'll all be blown to bits the first day. So cheer up, huh?
Oof.
Just like
Jeez.
in 1946, that was a very real fear that just any minute now we're going to war with Russia and they're going to nuke us first. And that fear didn't leave for a good like 3-4 decades. But
God,
to mention that just now, like we just defeated the Nazis and now we're like, well, hey, cheer up. We're all going to die tomorrow probably. So, it doesn't fucking matter.
God.
Jesus, man.
So tough. God, yeah, that's rough, man. There are some hard truths in this movie for sure. Fuck. And can you imagine watching this? Maybe as someone who served, and you're watching this movie just shortly after coming home, like, whoa, that's got to just rattle your cage.
Yeah, for sure. Nobody knew what was going to happen next. It was the world had just completely changed. The maps had been redrawn. This destructive power exists and we know about it and we have it, but who else has it? Who's going to use it? Who's dangerous enough to use it and when? And yeah, for a movie to just straight up say like, don't worry about it. If we're dead, we're dead. We won't care. That's insane. And I'm kind of amazed that Wyler had the balls to do that, but also like who else but Wyler would have the balls to do that?
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. At that time, yeah, he's definitely the number one guy. No, the top dog. Oh man, crazy good stuff. I chose a bit of dialogue between Homer and Wilma, his soon-to-be wife. They're just kind of talking. Well, what he's doing is he's shooting. He's practicing shooting. Fucking Homer, this is a guy who just came home from the war and he's using his hooks and he's fucking shooting at a target, And Wilma, she comes up to him and she says, "You wrote me that when you got home, you and I were going to be married. If you wrote that once, you wrote it 100 times. Isn't that true?" Homer says, "Yes, but things are different now." Then Wilma says, "Have you changed your mind?" Then Homer says, kind of aggressively, "Have I said anything about changing my mind?" And then Wilma says, "No, that's just it. You haven't said anything about anything. I don't know what to think, Homer. All I know is I was in love with you when you left, and I'm in love with you now. Other things may have changed, but that has not." Oh, man. And Homer being the guy who's physically different from what he just did, from what he went through, that none of these people who love him at home are ever going to understand. They're never going to be able to put themselves in his shoes and have their arms fucking catch on fire. That's not happening to them. And the fact that he's trying to process this and also maybe get married here soon to a woman that he believes there's no way she loves me. There's no way she's actually going to want to stay married to me and stay faithful to me for as long as marriage is supposed to be. And her kind of putting her foot down was one of the coolest things in this movie. Is Wilma, who's very quiet, a very reserved, person. When she wants what she wants and she's like, "No, I'm in love with you." I love moments like that in movies when there's a relationship going on and you can see that there's a lot of care, but one of them's not quite putting in the same effort as the other, even if they're disabled like Homer is. She's like, "That's not fair. I'm meeting you halfway. You fucking meet me halfway. Like, let's do this thing. We're going to get married." I loved that scene. I thought it was spectacular. I loved everything between them two. I thought that was very, very well worth my time watching those two kind of figure their way out. And then their super long wedding was fun too.
That's a great exchange. I could, relate to that a bit. I've been in a, brief but important relationship where I loved too much and they didn't. It's a hard place to be. And yeah, I understand from both of their perspectives. Homer is insecure and doesn't really know who he is anymore, but she does.
Yeah.
And she knows like, this is still the man I love. That takes incredible strength on both sides.
That's power. Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful. Great choice.
Hell yeah. The Ennio Morricone. This is a pretty wild score by Hugo Friedhofer. What'd you pick for your Ennio?
At first I had the bit where Homer's playing the piano because I was like, holy shit, he can play the piano. But then I was like, wow. But then a bit of score caught me and I had to put that down. And it was when Homer takes off his harness to show Wilma the reality of his injury. Like, this is who I am. The score that's playing during that is so revealing and powerful. It reminded me of the Gaslight score.
Okay.
There was just a power there of like, we're seeing behind the curtain for the first time. And it's up to us to accept, like, you know, can we deal with that? And it's up to Wilma to decide, can she deal with that? And she doesn't fucking hesitate. She's like, I'm going to help you button your shirt every goddamn day. Like, yeah, fuck, and that's love.
Yeah, she's awesome. Yeah, Wilma's the shit. Everybody needs a Wilma in their life.
Yeah, damn straight. So the score that was playing there caught me, and I liked that a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. I chose a piece of score as well that kind of surprised me. It's towards the end of the film, whenever Fred goes onto the lot where all the plane pieces are. And for a moment, it's like a exciting horror movie for a second. It's like familiar territory where he feels good about that. He's like, oh shit. Oh, this is stuff I know. This is stuff that I'm good at. But it's also reminding him of war and fighting and violence and things that shouldn't be done to other humans, you know? And I love shit like that. I love when something can capture, you know, innocence and wonder and bewilderment, and also just pure memory of evil, you know, nasty things. Like those two things existing at the same time is a lot of what humans just have to deal with. So Fred has just gone on a really interesting kind of plot turn, and he has no idea what he's going to do, and he stumbles across this lot, and what starts playing when he gets there and is looking around is fucking amazing. I like the score. I thought it was good. I think it stands out for the kind of film it is. It could be redundant and boring, but there's actually some pretty striking moments.
Yeah, I agree with that. The score is definitely a strong point of this film. I think that what's the guy's name again? Friedhofer? Yeah,
Hugo Fried or Friedhofer? I don't know.
I think it's Friedhofer, but I'm
probably
not, I don't know that. Yeah. I think he did a great job kind of giving each character their own tone, not necessarily their own theme, their own like vibe with the music. And I like that. Not a lot of composers were that considerate back then. So good on him.
Hell yeah, man. Now, the Philip Seymour Hoffman Award. This is tough. I had a hard time. I think all three of our main characters, Dana Andrews, Harold Russell, and fucking Frederick March, I think all three of them are putting in awesome performances and are all worth talking about. I think Myrna Loy is doing a pretty good job. I think she's probably the first female name I'd throw into the mix. But this is definitely a male-dominated movie with just the way the story kind of arcs and goes. So I think I was kind of debating between the three main guys all day today.
Yeah, as was I. Ultimately, I have a name written down here, but I'm going to change it just through the discussion. This goes to Harold Russell.
Fantastic. I wrote the same thing. What more can you want? What more of an original performing could you want? You know, out of a war movie. This guy who actually served and knocks out of the park, wins the Oscar. Just such a hell of a story, and the Homer character is going to stick with me forever.
Yeah, just this guy who had no formal training, lived through the war, got his hands blown off, survived the war, came home, was cast in a giant war movie by, an accomplished filmmaker, clearly a big production, an important production, and cast in a very important role alongside like Academy Award winner Frederick March and Myrna Loy, and these actors who were significant heavy hitters in Hollywood at the time.
Yeah, and William Wyler, like, can you imagine looking at that's the guy who's in charge of the movie you're on? You're like, oh Jesus.
And then not only
that'd be like if some guy who just came back from overseas worked with fucking David Fincher all of a sudden. It's like, wait, what? How can you expect them to do well? It's crazy.
And then they fucking like outshined Brad Pitt. Like, oh my God.
Yeah. They're next to Brad Pitt and fucking Edward Norton, and they're like, no, I'm better than both of you bitches. Geez, God.
The fact that this guy just acted circles around everyone, like his character was so like sweet-natured and also like devoid of pity. Like, if anything, he had like a significant strength about him that you just couldn't help but fall in love with. You love this guy. You wanted to see him work it out with Wilma. And ultimately we do. And it does feel good to know that, love triumphed. But this performance is so strong. And I can't believe he only did like 4 other bit parts and then just disappeared.
That was it. Yeah.
He had he was a very talented, natural born actor. And just good for him. 2 Oscars for this movie. I'm glad. I wonder where they are right now, where those are. Maybe they're in the museum.
Yeah, I would hope that they're a part of that collection that they have. He's got 2 Oscars and now 2 Philip Seymour Hoffmans. So that's really cool. I love when stuff like that happens. This is a huge reason why we do this podcast, is so we can both learn along the way. And I definitely learned more about Harold Russell. So really cool. The Roger Deakins, favorite scene. This movie pretty much bleeds as one and doesn't have scenes that stand out as, oh, that was the moment, that was the climax, that was the this or that. So I'm curious to hear what you picked.
It was you had already brought it up briefly, and it's the scene where I keep forgetting the one guy's name. Fred. Jesus. Fred. It's when Homer and Fred stand up to the asshole at the soda fountain.
Dude.
Because there's few shittier people on earth than people who never served bad mouthing the military. Those are despicable people. If you don't know what you're talking about, shut the fuck up. These people risk their lives for you, so you can sit at this soda fountain and bitch. So
and like, what do you even like? Those people are they're everywhere. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing to actually? What are you a peace protester? Then go fucking do something. If you don't want the war to happen, go do something about it. Don't bitch and moan about it while you're eating fucking ice cream. Like, God.
You may not respect the war, but you will goddamn respect the soldiers who fight it. And
yeah, exactly.
I like that Homer was like, what's wrong? Like, who do you think you are? Like, what are you trying to prove? And then as soon as this guy like put his hands on Homer, Fred swooped in and just gave one of the best fucking movie punches I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Knocked that guy back like 3 feet. That was a Cliff Booth punch, just off his feet, right into the fucking glassware.
Yeah, that was great. So much glass broke, and you're like, oh fuck yeah. And Fred is like, yeah, he knows he's gonna get fired, but he's like, I don't give a shit. I'll meet you outside, Homer. Let's go. Let's get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, I was pumping my fist. I was back in. I'm like, yeah, more of that.
That was an excellent scene. When he says just some good old fashioned Americanism, that's when Fred's like, you fucking asshole. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh
I'm gonna
my God. And they always claim to
kick
be like
your
the
ass.
they always claim to be like the true patriots, the real people who care about this country. They see through the lies, wake up sheeple, all that bullshit. But no, all you are is a self-righteous prick who doesn't matter. And I hope all these guys get punched into glassware.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Well, it's a great shout out to those kinds of people. That's how they process the war. I'm not a part of it. I didn't get enlisted. I wasn't there. I have no idea what they're going through. So I'm just going to act like an asshole. Like, have some sympathy, have some, you're not going to know every single little thing about the world. You're not going to walk in everybody's shoes. It's okay to be in your own. And people are just not comfortable with that. So I love that scene. I almost wrote the same thing down. All of that, the drugstore, the soda jerk stuff, all of that stuff is like, fuck yeah. I'm super interested in that kind of a thing that is directly from a specific era. Like, you don't really go do that. You don't just go like get ice cream and a fucking Coke at a bar, with other grown men. You don't really do that anymore.
No, I missed that. I wish we still had that.
I would. Yeah, it sounds great. If I could go to a Haagen-Dazs bar with you and just get like a bunch of chocolate ice cream and a fucking Coke, I'd be totally down.
I would love to open a soda jerk that just plays classic movies all day and has like ice cream and Coke. That's it.
That'd be so cool. Yeah, just a bunch of soda and a bunch of different ice cream. And yeah, movies like this. My Deakins goes to a scene. I actually initially, when that scene happened, I wrote it down in my notes. I was like, that was good. That was a good scene. And I was kind of thinking, oh, that's going to be my Deakins. And then today I was at work just kind of thinking about the movie. And there's one particular part I kind of thought about again. And I was like, oh, damn, that was really powerful. And it's when Fred, fucking Dana Andrews, keeps coming back up. He is great in this movie. He basically is getting cheated on. His wife is kind of being a fucker, kind of neglecting him, and he runs into a guy that's hanging out at their place, and then she's like, "Well, I'm going out with him," and she's like, "I'm gonna go do this," and he's like, at that point, he's like, "Fuck it, man, I'm gonna get out of here. I'm gonna get out of this town. I don't really care where I'm going. Doesn't matter what it is." And they show my favorite part of that, my favorite scene from all that, is when they show him go back to his parents' house, and he starts packing his things, putting them into a suitcase, and his parents are like, "Well, like, what are you gonna do? Where are you gonna go?" And he's like, I don't know. I'm not sure. I'm gonna see what flights are available. See what different things I can do about this. See if I need to take a bus. Do I need to do this? He's gonna start fucking roaming around. He's gonna be a fucking beatnik. Like, he just doesn't know what to do with his time, because he cannot process how annoying everybody is around him. He's like, fuck off. and it's amazing to watch. But when he leaves and his dad reads off why he got all the honors and medals that he got while serving, and his dad is reading it and is like, holy shit, this is about my son. It's the first time he gets to see proof that his son was really, really, really worth something to somebody. That wasn't just him, I imagine when you're a parent with someone that age who's lived their own life, you want them to do something worthwhile. You want them to do something that means something to other people, that was bigger than themselves. And he finally got a glimpse, like, oh my God, this is it. My son dominated in the fucking war. My son was a leader. My son was someone to be reckoned with on the battlefield. Like, holy shit. And he doesn't quite know how to, like, what to do with these words. And then, they show him walking around, and he finds that lot with the planes, and I love that whole piece of the movie, that it showed you this guy who just seems like a loser, to the blind eye, like this fucking Fred guy. Who's this? He's just some guy who doesn't know how to keep up with, the tempo of society. But really, he's a genius in a whole another part of life. He's like a master craftsman when it comes to war. And that's something we don't see in the movie. We don't see them, doing their thing. We don't see Homer blow his hands off, we see the aftermath. And so we're given all this stuff about Fred. And when his dad finally sees that, like, oh man, like my son made me proud, finally like made me really proud. I was like, fuck, that's tough. That's so hard. And that's such a fascinating thing to be, to reckon with. Your son, like, destroyed. He did what most people who fight in war, that's what they're trying to accomplish. Like, your son did that. So pretty crazy. Something that I would have a hard time if someone I knew really well had all those awards. I'd be like, holy shit, what did you do over there, man? Like, fuck, you imagine the stuff that goes on in his brain, just scary and admirable at the same time.
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever heard somebody refer to a woman as a fucker. So thank you for that. And second, I think Al never left the war mentally. Homer never left the war physically. And Fred never left the war emotionally.
Yeah.
And
that's a great way of looking at those three. Yeah.
The film really, I think, goes into those three concepts. And yeah, that is a great moment where Fred just says, I'm out. I can't do this anymore. The world is not the same because of what I went through, and I am done trying to change it. But then, he does find his groove. Like you said, he was his best self in the war. And by working on that field, he can do something with that.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's good that he found his place. Right on. Good choice.
Found his niche. Yeah. Really cool. Awesome stuff. Yeah. Yeah. I really like this movie, man. I'm going to buy it. I'm going to own this one. I want to own all the best picture winners anyway, but this is one I want to have. I want it. I'll be proud to have it on my shelf. I have some on my shelf that I don't really like. They're just there because I feel like they have to be. But this is one that I really enjoyed. So had a blast doing this, had a blast talking about some shitty movies, had a blast talking about It's a Wonderful Life and Best Years of Our Lives, man. A lot of fun.
Yeah, hands down. Yeah, we can definitely just, craft a show out of any terrible movie or whatever we need to do. And Best Years of Our Lives, I didn't think it was great, but it does have moments that are going to stick with me. So that's something.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. You're going to remember Homer, you're not going to be able to get that out of your head. Yeah. And again, it's always good to kind of check one of them off the list. You know what I mean?
Yes, exactly. So what are we taking on next week?
Next week. Well, as we, August is coming to a close. If you're listening to this, it is the 29th here on Sunday, August 29th. Fall is coming, which means for movies, typically, and it will this year as well, even with, different things happening to the movie industry. It's typically award season. It's when movies that are going to be at the Oscars, this is usually when they start coming out, late August, September, October, November, Christmas time, that kind of thing. The Oscars are not until March, like late March next year. But those movies that we're going to see there are going to start happening. Some movies that you and I are looking forward to a lot. Like James Bond, No Time to Die. That'll get some technical shit for sure. French Dispatch, Wes Anderson. The Last Duel, Ridley Scott. There's a bunch of different kind of movies that are gonna be getting nominations. And we don't know whether they're all gonna fall or where they're gonna lie, but we know they're coming because it has to happen within a certain time frame. And I want to, on this show, open up the possibilities of latching on to that. latching on to, Steven Spielberg is doing West Side Story 60 years later. That's a big fucking deal. I don't really like West Side Story, but that is a big fucking deal. Around that time, I want to talk about West Side Story. When French Dispatch comes out, I want to talk about Wes Anderson, and so on and so forth. When No Time to Die comes out, I want to talk about some James Bond shit throughout the week. And with Oscar Sunday, you have, a plethora of films that have been nominated that we can kind of talk about that way. So on Sunday, we can highlight a movie that was nominated in the past. And then on Monday, we can talk about the movie that just came out. And I think it's going to be a cool way to kind of piece them together. If you consistently listen to us, you know that we've tackled the 50s, the 90s, and the 40s. And we did 5 episodes on each. I've had an absolute blast doing that. And I want to do it again in the future. But I think during the fall, during awards season, I want to open it up to get a little bit schizophrenic. I want it to be a little more off the wall and a little more unpredictable. So that's kind of the direction we'll be going. With that being said, next week, I'm going to take the time to show you one of my favorite movies of all time, probably my favorite documentary that I've ever seen from 2018. It's Minding the Gap. I cannot wait for you to see it. I can't wait to tackle our first documentary on Oscar Sunday. With that, we have awards we give out. We're going to keep them the same. We're going to have the Tarantino for the best line of the documentary. We're going to have the Ennio Morricone for the best music moment, whatever it is, soundtrack, whatever little piece you like. The Philip Seymour Hoffman, we'll give that to who we think is kind of the most effective in the documentary. Whoever has the best, kind of shit to say and that kind of a thing. And then the Deakins will be, what do you think is the best moment of the documentary? So please come back next week. Minding the Gap is one of the more important pieces of art in my life. And so it'll be very cool. It'll be therapeutic almost to be able to finally talk about it, give it some time and talk about it. It's on Hulu. I'm not sure. I know it just got released on Criterion. I bought that. It's really cool case. I'm not sure if it's on the Criterion channel, but I know it's on Hulu. So please check that out if you can and come back next week. And then we're just going to get kind of wild with it. Each week's going to be different, going to be, kind of latching on to stuff that's happening now and also doing stuff that's fun. So Minding the Gap is purely a personal choice. It's something that I feel like you've got to see. And I know that documentaries is something you're kind of opening up to more now. So why not show you my favorite?
Very nice. Yeah, I've definitely, through knowing you, developed an affinity for documentaries. And so that's special. And I know you've been talking about this movie for a while now. And it's very special to you. So
God, it's a heavy one. It's awesome. I love the year 2018. I think it's my favorite thing from that year, not just movie or not just documentary, but movie. It's one of those that kind of teeters on the line of almost feeling like a, just purely narrative film where you're like, holy shit, are these guys acting? Like this is too goddamn real to be real. But then there's stuff that happens late in the documentary where it's textbook documentary stuff. So you get kind of a taste of these people almost making their own movie and then kind of reflecting. And anyone I've shown it to, they've come back like, holy hell, like holy hell. It'll kind of wipe you off your feet. Definitely if you're a crier, it'll make you cry. I'm someone who cries a lot during movies.
Yep.
And this one, the first time I saw this, I was sick. And I remember forgetting that I was sick when I was watching it. It was one of those moments of kind of like, holy hell. It just kind of like lifted my spirits because I was like, holy shit, this is made for me. This is the kind of stuff I wait for, that I watch everything that I can so I get this. So very special stuff. I can't wait. I want to do more documentaries. So this is going to be the way to kind of break the glass, break the ice on documentaries and hopefully kind of get more of an itch for it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm excited to tackle an awards season spectacular, kind of just celebrating like any and all Oscar movies that tickle our fancy, regardless of decade. This is going to be fun.
Yeah, yeah, we won't be stuck necessarily ever. If something happens that we want to do, we're gonna fucking do it. I think one of the best things we did on this show was when fucking T'Challa, fucking Chadwick Boseman passed away. We immediately were like, no, we're gonna talk about him. We need to talk about him. We did Black Panther right away. I want to be able to always adjust. I want to always be able to react to what's happening in real life. And when you put yourself in one decade, it's hard to do that. And I want to come back to it. It's something I enjoyed a lot. I thought we got to really get a good glimpse of the 40s this past month, and that's been valuable for both of us as movie fans. So it's not going to be the last time we do that.
Sweet. Yeah, I love the constantly changing themes of this show. It always is something intriguing and something memorable. And we obviously have no shortage of films to investigate here.
Exactly.
So let's get wild with it.
Sneak preview also. Crazy amount of movies coming out. Movies are coming out left and right. What's tomorrow?
Oh, this is our first, coming up, this is our first award season for sneak preview, which is going to be wild. It's going to be hard to tackle all that shit, but we're going to do our best.
No kidding.
This weekend, tomorrow, we've got Candyman, of course, the new one, as well as No Man of God, the film about Ted Bundy and the FBI agent he befriended, and Hulu's Vacation Friends with John Cena and Lil Rel Howery. So all three getting fairly decent reviews. So it should be a good bunch. I saw Candyman already. Pretty good. Looking forward to seeing the other two films. And then on the Filmgazm podcast on Wednesday, Josh and I are tackling the immortal 1977 Italian horror film Suspiria. So,
oh God,
so excited to do that proper. Looking like it's going to be an interesting fall with everything we've got planned out for the fall. Shit's going to get weird on all three podcasts. So looking forward to that shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, man. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah. With that, thanks for listening, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next week.